we have a plant manager, Nick Klein, who replaced Don Smith at Adient. And so it used to be Johnson Controls. So JCI is now Adient. They're the largest employer in Eldon, probably over 550 people. And so there are 3 plants that do exactly the same thing that our plant here in Eldon does. One outside of Atlanta, Georgia, one outside of Detroit, Michigan, and then ours right here in Eldon. And he says sometimes when we're competing for jobs, sometimes they're a little concerned about Eldon being rural. Is there a skilled workforce? Can we provide what is necessary, what they need? And so Nick, the plant manager, said, I want to come up with a video that showcases what the school, what our factory, what all we're doing right here, advanced manufacturing inside Eldon, Missouri. And so we actually worked with Mark Scribner, and so you guys know Mark, an Eldon alumni, and his company is Snapshot Interactive. And so Mark came down and they brought their video crew down and shot this probably a few months ago. We had the North American Executive Vice President stand up after the video and tell the corporate sales team that they must win the upcoming Missouri contract to keep this great plant going for years to come. It just couldn't have gone any better. I got a lot of positive comments on the school partnering with the plant. They said we're the only plant doing anything like that in the United States. And so when you think about, when we talk about the cars or the vehicles that are built here in Missouri, we're talking about the Ford F-150 out of Kansas City, we're talking about the Chevy Colorado and the Chevy Malibu on the St. Louis side. And so between those 3 plants are all coming up for contracts in the next few years. And I think as a community, we have to be ready. Because right now they're at capacity. They have plant 1 and plant 2. They're using the old Fasco building kind of as a warehouse for distribution and some different things. I think as a community, we need to be thinking, if they get the Ford F-150, what does that mean for us? And what do we need to do as a community? What do we need to do to get ready? And so some of the things as Eldon Development Corporation that we've done is there's 10 acres right next to it that Eldon Development Corporation owns, and we've gone through a certified site process to where it's shovel ready, it's ready to go. We could start building tomorrow on that property right there for Adient. If they said we need a 100,000 square foot facility, we need to make this happen, we could be able to go. But on the other side of it is, you know that there's a lot of communities that are building buildings for businesses, that are saying we're willing to invest to try to draw a business in here and to try to do something. And Adient hasn't asked for anything yet, but I think in our minds we need to think, what are we willing to partner, what are we willing to do to keep this company right here and the impact that they have in our community. And so I think that's something that we need to be thinking about, of where does that go and what does that tie into. Do you guys have questions?
Matt, if I understood our conversation we had with him one day, that I think the middle part of this year is when Ford's contract comes due, is that correct?
Right.
In June, the F-150.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand where you're coming from, and we know that we got the property. I think maybe we ought to take a look and see what they're gonna need if they do that, and sort of get a down-to-earth plan to see how we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And take care of the needs.
Yeah, because
That's
they're a good plan, and even let's talk, working at Adient, those jobs are steady jobs. They make anywhere from 30,000 starting out. I mean, I know people making 40,000. You know, the higher end jobs obviously do very well, and so they're not low income jobs. They're quality jobs right here in Eldon. And when we talk about advanced manufacturing coming back, if you drive to Jeff City, there was a sign for Quaker Windows, I think, that said starting out $35,000. And so manufacturing is coming back. And if we are, my goal is to take this video to a Quaker Windows or another manufacturing and say, we can train your workforce also. We can have them ready, we can have our students ready to go. My goal is to take this video and share it with our high school kids, because sometimes they say we don't know what we want to do when we get out, we don't know what's out there for us. And so all of a sudden, if I'm showing this and saying we can get right here jobs that we need and our quality of life, as we have our parks and our school and just different things for our people to do, it creates a place they want to come back home. And then it just continues to snowball and we build upon that. So.
And also, when they got the Ford contract, it was either an 8 or 10-year contract. These contracts are not short duration contracts, are they?
Right. They have the Transit right now, the Ford Transit, and so that's kind of the van type looking thing that holds stuff. So that one is a longer one, But the F-150, I wanna say is just a 7-year, so it's not, it's not a 20-year, you know, you think about body cycles of vehicles, every 5 to 7 years, those are returned, so every year that cycle comes out, they have to rebid that product. So, okay,
We need it now that
we do. And they're happy with us. So when I asked them about our workforce, how we compare to the other 2 factories, the other 2 plants, we have the highest attendance rate, we have the highest quality control, and we have the, what's the word I want to use? Most efficient workforce. So when you tie those in, he said, we rank high, but the reason he wanted the video is because he said, corporate struggles to say, do you have the workforce that can work on our $1 million robots? And after showing him this, he said, wow, you guys can work on our $1 million machines. And so, you know, you guys did the Chapter 100 bonds 3 or 4 years ago, I think, to help them with equipment. And so those, you know, that $7 million then is well used